I'm Chris from Redmen TV. Do us a favour, do yourself a favour, and subscribe to the Liverpool Connection podcast. Do it. Do it now.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Liverpool Connection podcast. This is the storytelling podcast. I am Dazza, if you didn't know already, and I've got Mr. Steve Wilson back again. Looks fresh-faced and ready to listen to quite a few stories. Today's special guest is from Jamie Carragher's 23 Foundation. It's Mr. Mike LEPIC. How are you, Mike?
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure.
He is a Zoom virgin. So as we say to all our Zoom virgins, we will take it easy with you this time.
Thank you. Go easy on me, guys. Yeah.
So before we get into talking about the amazing work that 23 Foundation does, we all know you're a Liverpool fan, or we wouldn't let you anywhere near this podcast. I mean, we've let a few Evertonians, come on, but apart from that, it's all Liverpool. So take me back, because I know you're a young lad, just turned 22 now.
Oh, add 40 on top of that, mate, and you're probably close to the figure.
That's all right. You're still young at heart, which is always good. But take us back, as you were telling us you're not originally from England. So take us back on how you came to be a Liverpool supporter.
Thank you. Yeah. So my mum brought me to England in 1969, and what was former Yugoslavia, and I didn't speak a word of English. I was only 6, and they put me on Janet and John books. And I remember later on that week, my uncle took me to watch Liverpool. I couldn't understand a word that anyone was saying anyway. But, to actually see Liverpool beat Everton 3-2, and we were losing 2-0. And to look at the swaying cup and the majesty that was and is Anfield was just an unbelievable experience. And never mind Leeds United or where, I'm from West Yorkshire or Bradford City, but Liverpool stuck in my soul, and it's been in my DNA ever since.
So who was your favourite player back in the day?
Shankly's teams in that year, in those years, were superb. I remember Chris Lawler, Alex Lindsay, Tommy Smith, Ron Yates, the 65 winning team, and then after that we had Kevin Keegan came into the squad, and I think the one thing about Kevin Keegan that sticks in my mind is that he was the first footballer to actually advertise aftershave on television. He was like a superstar. He was the Messi of the 70s, and to actually see him, we only had a black and white TV then. To actually see him on TV. My hero, Kevin Keegan from Doncaster, Scunthorpe area, advertising Brut aftershave with Henry Cooper. So I've got to say Kevin, then after that, Kenny.
So were you a poster child? Did you have the posters on the wall?
I did. I've still got them. I've still got them somewhere in the archives, all the originals. There was a magazine that came out called Shoot.
Yeah.
And I kept them all religiously. It was a fantastic magazine. And Liverpool won everything then. They were always in it, through the 70s, 80s. And, yeah, I have to admit, once the club's in your DNA, they're in your DNA. And I don't care what anyone says. There's no club like Liverpool on the planet. Best exactly. Fans, best stadium, everything.
It's just so, you go back to those games. It's when footballers could actually tackle, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Tommy Smith going in hard. I remember Crazy Horse. Wonderful Emlyn Hughes. What a fantastic human being. We lost him, of course, prematurely, passed away. Legend has it, those two actually didn't get on, but on the pitch, they got on really well. And I think Iron Man Tommy Smith was one hell of a tackler. As was Jimmy Case a few years after him. And
Yeah, with Tommy Smith, I mean, you know, you hear some stories that he definitely a hard man, but
Yes.
you know, very funny man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and same with a lot of the players back then. You know, Jimmy was the same as well.
Jimmy meets us on match days. We park at Stanley Car Park, and Jimmy does his uh, shows. So sometimes he's at Anfield pre-match or whatever. But he's still got that hard image. Jimmy Case, lovely guy, drives to Southampton and back on match days. Top player, and as our other players that we work with, Sammy Lee's a lovely guy. Does lots for charity. Real legend, and of course they won many European Cups.
They did, and you know, we had Sammy not too long ago. Actually, where we're based out of Austin, he came for the Legends, and we also had him on the podcast. And yeah, a top fella. Just, you know, probably give you the shirt off of his back, which many Scousers would anyway. You know, so well, maybe not some Evertonians. They need to keep that. They need to keep those for the championship. But yeah, no, it's. I think with their like the Liverpool legends, like Jimmy Case and the like, they really do a lot for the city of Liverpool. You know, hence, you know, with charity events as well, that all always there to put their hands up and everything. I know David Fairclough, you know, has a foundation in his wife's name. He does loads and loads of stuff, and that's one of the main things I really love about Liverpool Football Club. Not only is it still the best football club in the world, but just what it does for the community, and especially all you need to do is get on, you know, Liverpool website and see all the little kiddos that are there, you know, smiling faces, get to meet all these heroes. It's just a wonderful club, and you know, I always like. A lot of people, I think, have lost a little bit of that, especially the younger generation, because it's just, you know, who's going to win the transfer window this window. I could care less about that. I care about what Liverpool Football Club means to me, which is heart and soul.
Yeah.
You know, that's why me and Steve try to, you know, do this story podcast to keep telling these stories, you know, to get it out there, and hopefully the youngsters finally get a grasp of it, just like I did as well. You know, I never listened to me granddad's stories. This is my ode to my granddad, is this podcast, because I'm like, I'm sorry, granddad, I'm getting stories. Don't worry. But yeah, that's why, you know, we love to bring people like yourself on. You know, obviously talk about 23 Foundation, but also about your love for Liverpool Football Club, because that's what it you know, means to us the most.
Yeah, I think in summary, really, if there's a game on TV, say Tottenham played Arsenal recently, and I think Arsenal won that one, I just can't get myself to watch it. I love football, but for me, I can only watch Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I travel the world to watch Liverpool. I've seen them in New York, Chicago. I've seen them all over in Boston, at Fenway, and you know, I'm really passionate about the club. That red shirt. I remember a few years ago, we had some really weird looking shirts, and watching
one or two, yeah.
Yeah, watching Liverpool in turquoise, and God, I think there was we did a signing with Jamie yesterday actually, where supporters send their shirts in, and Jamie signed about 200 items, and in there were multi-signed, multicolored shirts, and there was a blue and white one from the 20s or something.
Oh wow!
So if you look at the kind of the history of Liverpool shirts, very Anarakish, but I've got every Liverpool home and away shirt for the last 40 years. I'm that bad.
Wow, nice.
So yeah, once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. And the other thing I would say is that we have such a large fan base around the planet, and we work with a lot of supporters branches from, say, Auckland, Australia, New Zealand way, up to Edmonton, Canada, Chicago, Boston. And when you speak to people like we're having this conversation now, they are all so passionate and knowledgeable about Liverpool. you know, and it really, and on match days we meet a lot of them, because sometimes we take 50 kids to watch Liverpool. So, for instance, Real Madrid, I think we've got about 50 kids going in. These kids are from Toxteth, or they're from, you know, Norris Green, Liverpool, or Widnes, St Helens. They've never been before. And when the UEFA anthem plays at Anfield just before the game kicks off, you just the faces and the kind of mannerisms of those children, they are so in awe. And then the cops going, you know, you'll never walk alone. All the banners are up there, and there's nothing like it. And of course, I remember we beat them 4-0 when Torres scored twice and Gerrard got a beauty at Cop End. I don't think it'll be 4-0 this time, but we can hope, can't we?
Well, what I saw, it was last week, a mother, one of her boys has a disease. His name was Jaden. Did you see it as well, Mike?
I met Jaden before the game.
Just through Facebook.
Yeah.
Just his mother had sent it out to a few groups.
Yes.
And again, what I love about the Liverpool community is they helped get in contact with Liverpool Football Club, and they said, "Yeah, no problem." And it was, I believe it was just for like a match ticket, and then he ends up meeting Klopp and Van Dijk and Alisson. That's what I love about this football team.
Yeah, so we met Jaden before the game. Jamie did a shirt for him, dedicated it to him. It's on our Instagram page, 23 Foundation Instagram page. Now, we get about 10 of those a week from children all over the world. And between us, the Owen McWay Foundation, the wonderful work that Kenny Dalglish does with Marina, Stephen Gerrard Foundation, Everton in the Community, Liverpool LFC Foundation, we all work closely together. And I mean, we get hundreds and hundreds of emails through the 23 Foundation, literally every week, and we never turn anybody away. We always do what we can for them, even if it's a signed shirt, or we try to get them tickets for a game. But we are a big family, and it's the big. I'm led to believe it's the biggest fan base on the planet. So I'm not surprised, you know, that I'm not surprised that we're such a close-knit community. And I'm also not surprised that we've got the biggest fan base on the planet. And believe you me, it's not because of the Beatles. It's because of that red and white shirt. What Shankly stood for, Paisley, Fagan, and the wonderful managers, Kenny after that, and the boot room, everything. It's just a wonderful, wonderful entity. And furthermore, the 23 Foundation has actually now got a home over in Melwood, the wonderful Liverpool heritage site. So Jamie and Robbie Fowler own that now. So we... you know, our soccer schools are very proactive, but Jamie's got a wonderful, wonderful big heart focusing on charity. So hence the 23 Foundation.
Well, I'll let Stephen now.
Hey, Mike, good to see you again. For full disclosure, for people that don't know, you know, I met Mike 2015 on my first trip to Liverpool. Right. And so I'll always be indebted to the opportunity that you allowed me got to play in the Legends match that first time to Liverpool. And so that's probably still the highlight of my my support, is being able to be there with Jamie and Robbie Fowler and Jan Molby and those guys. So still grateful to you for after all these years, and it's good to see you. You haven't really changed that much in 6 years, so 7 years now.
I think you know, we've been running the charity now for 14 years, and we've got some fantastic links and supporters in the United States of America. I remember you, Steve, very well, and you're looking well, mate, and hope to see you again.
You know, you were mentioning about traveling with the team, and before we get into the foundation, I just wanted to maybe if you could share a story on some of your best nights away, you know, in Europe, some of the experiences that you've had.
If he's allowed to.
Yes, right.
Oh, you know what? It was amazing. I think the Yankee Stadium in New York was very special. No, not because we beat Man City. It was unbelievable, where a real club like Liverpool, with the real supporters, sort of, you know, and presence in New York and most of the major cities in the United States. But we had 95% of the support in that stadium. And bless them, Manchester City, I'm not going to say anything negative about them. I think we all know what they stand for. But they had about 200 people huddled up in a corner with little scarves, giving it City, 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 and the fact that we beat them, and when we scored, the place just erupted. We've had some wonderful. In fact, one of the best sort of trips we ever had was that trip when we beat Tottenham that I mentioned earlier on. I didn't have a ticket. I was literally in Florida. My wife and I are big Disney fans. Not only are we season ticket holders at Anfield, we're season ticket holders at Walt Disney World. Love all that Mickey Minnie stuff. And I have to say, when you're walking around the parks, Epcot and Magic Kingdom, the number of people who are wearing Liverpool shirts, it always brings a lovely, lovely feeling, as opposed to other teams that are not being represented. And I didn't have a ticket. And I remember Jamie said, he said, Mike, before you go, have you any tickets? I said, well, we haven't got any tickets at the moment. So I'll try to get one when I get back. So halfway through my holiday, I had to WhatsApp him because he needed to be at school to do a presentation to an autistic school in Liverpool that we support. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think he got me Gary Neville's tickets, and he WhatsApped me, says, Mike, you've got 2 seats. So I thought, right, so we fly back on the Thursday. Then we have to fly to Madrid on the Friday from Leeds Bradford Airport. Jet lagged. We did it. Turned up at Leeds Bradford Airport. Hundreds of Liverpool fans with Yorkshire accents. Like James Milner. James Milner's got an accent like mine. Now, laddie, you're that big Liverpool fan, aren't we? Like, that's how we speak. So you can imagine 200 supporters like this at Leeds Bradford Airport, all climbing on these aircraft to get to Madrid. And it was fantastic. It was unbelievable. It was a similar kind of beginning to the Paris game where the Real Madrid debacle recently. It was just the same. But as soon as you got to the stadium, the difference between the Madrid stadium and the one in Paris was 100% different. Something wasn't right, and that game should never have been played. But I have to say, I mean, we went to Basel to watch Liverpool, and we had some fantastic moments. To be honest, I've actually never seen Liverpool lose away from home, apart from Paris, and that game should never have been played. So,
well, I'm hoping you go to Madrid then.
No, he's going on vacation. He said,
"No, please, Mike."
I'm going to the home game, mate. My wife's a big red as well, and you know what? She's very patient. We've got a number of properties, and they're all crammed with Liverpool memorabilia and stock. So if I start cancelling holidays to go watch Liverpool, I think I might end up with a P45, mate.
That's funny. Hey, Mike, you had mentioned that the foundation has been around for 14 years. What was the process? Were you there at the very beginning with Jamie to create the foundation? And I know that you're saying it's very charitable, and there's other charities that support the Liverpool area. So what was that process like at the beginning?
Well, it was fortuitous. What actually happened was Philly Carragher, Jamie's dad, is famous. Philly is the epitome of King Scouser. Wonderful guy, big-hearted fella. He's been all over the world to watch his son play football. And they wanted to launch a charity when Jamie retired. And my background's IT, and my wife and I both lost our mums to cancer. So Philly and I got together and we said, look, how can we make this work? And so we developed a website, which is very popular. And then we started adding sort of product to the website. So we work with about 60 players. So if you wanted to buy, a Jan Molby shirt or a Kenny shirt or a Steven Gerrard shirt or anything from the 70s, 80s upwards, we have those, and they're not expensive. All the proceeds goes to charity. My wife and I, we're not salaried. We work for free. There's only 2 of us, and I did really well in business, so we're kind of functioning in terms of being able to live and pay bills and buy food, with all the essential stuff. But Jamie's a great lad. I mean, I honestly, hand on heart, I can't think of anyone, and we work with 60 players, that does more for charity than Jamie. He's never forgotten his roots in Bootle. He's got a great family. And James Milner, Jordan Henderson do a lot of work for charity. The Dalglish family does a lot of work for charity. LFC Foundation, all those players that met Jaden the other day, they're fantastic lads. I'm not saying that because I love them all, because they're all big, our Liverpool players, but they never turn anybody away. The guys down at the AXA Training Centre, we've now got Melwood, the previous one. They're fantastic. If family came to me and said, "Look, Mike, can you get me a Mo Salah shirt?" Those guys would get me one. They're brilliant.
Right.
So it started 14 years ago. It was fortuitous. It was kismet in that Philly and Jamie wanted to get something off the ground. My wife and I want to get something off the ground. So we've got the legend as the patron. They've got me as an IT resource. So we got our heads together, make it. We made it work, and now we now support 1,300 families a year. We donate at least £50,000 a year to food banks, and we take 750 kids into matches on a calendar year from, say, January to December. So we try to make a difference.
Well, I mean, I know that you guys are created this entity that's pretty known throughout all the Liverpool supporter chapters, worldwide. So obviously the outreach and the the ability to reach so many people and to share your message, that's got to be interesting to see the growth of that while the charity is growing. Say, under FSG, that they get a lot of slack, obviously, or they're slated a lot for different things. But one of the things that they don't get enough credit, in my opinion, is the increase of the social media presence, the increase of the official chapters, and also working with the community charities like yourself. So,
yeah, I met John Henry in Boston. It was on one of the American tours. And it's amazing when you actually turn up in Boston or say Chicago or New York or whatever, and you meet the Raleigh Reds, the Edmonton Canadians. You meet the West Coast guys, Ken Solomon and his people down in Florida, Roy Yates and Alicia and her shop over in Seattle. Yeah, we all kind of get together, and you're right. I think the secret behind the 23 Foundation is the fact that we have an open door. So there are charities out there, if you write to them, you won't get a response. Charities out there, if you write to them, you might get a response in a month. Now, if unbeknown, you wrote to me tomorrow, I would read your email tomorrow. I will respond to you within 24 hours. And if you wanted to buy something, you would have that as quickly as possible from our warehouse in Liverpool or from one of my warehouses in West Yorkshire. Where we have a lot of stock and so on and so forth. So I think one of the reasons why we've got a good name isn't because we support so many people necessarily, although it is a key element. But the aforementioned mum that brought me here in 1969, she taught me something when I was about, in my early teens. And she said, Michael, she said, treat people like you want to be treated yourself. And that kind of moral's always stuck in my mind. And, we have a really good name for customer service. Sometimes we get oddball sort of requests that come in where a guy will come in and say, well, I'm from Singapore. Can I have a Fernando Torres signed shirt? Oh, and can Luis Suarez sign it as well? Oh, if Gerrard's around, can you get him to sign it as well? So you have to let them down slowly and say, look, and manage expectations. But at the end of the day, that guy's come on because he knows everything's real. He knows all the money goes to charity, and 3, he knows he'll get decent customer support.
Your mom obviously imparted that valuable lesson to you. So I want to thank you for imparting a valuable lesson to me, and that is do not bid on silent auction items when you're drunk.
Right.
I learned a valuable lesson, and you know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, listen,
you helped ship all this stuff over to me that I won.
Oh, Steve.
But yeah, but that was a fun night, that gala in 2015, to commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the Istanbul Champions League victory. But yeah, I'll never forget that night, and I still have all the stuff that I won, up and hanging up. So, but I always laugh about that now. I just shake my head and go, "What the hell were you doing, dude?"
It was a memorable evening, and we're just having this conversation with Jamie yesterday, actually, because we're not far away from the 20th anniversary of Istanbul. But it was really good, actually, that 2015 event, because we had all the players go through the Titanic Hotel because they signed lots of shirts and memorabilia, and they all flew in. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, bless him, excuse me, Igor Bišćan walks in with his missus from Zagreb, and I don't know what possessed me. Rather than speaking to him in English, I just said something like, Gospodine, kako ste vi, jel sve u redu s vama? And he looked at me as though I've just fallen out of Mars or something, And his wife said, "Oh, you speak Croatian?" I said, "Well, I hope so. I was born there." So, they were great people. Vladimir Smica was great that weekend. Jamie, obviously, he's always up for it. But what actually made me laugh more than anything else is that, so we lined all these players like Luis Garcia, another great lad. He does lots for charity.
Yep.
And that 2005 squad, we had them sign 600 shirts in the basement. And the only player that turned up with his dressing gown on was Didi Hamann. The rest decided they were going to actually dress up for the event, but not Didi. He had his dressing gown on. So I think he must have had a lie-in.
I think the players had a great time that weekend, because I was fortunate enough to speak Spanish to Luis Garcia, German to Didi, and Russian to Biscan. But you could just tell they were there to commemorate that event, and they were having as much fun as the people that were in the gala. So I know that you guys were such a big part of that gala coming off. So thanks again for those memories.
No, we had great memories, and we're going to. I think we're going to replay that Istanbul final again in a couple of years' time, and it's the 20th anniversary. And, why don't you guys come over, and we'll treat you as our guests.
Oh, perfect! Put it on the calendar there, Daza. So
let's do it.
Steve, leave your wallet at home. Right? Don't bid when you're drunk.
Yes.
Those are 2 rules. All right.
I learned another lesson though too that night, that no matter how well dressed people are, that doesn't mean they're not skint.
No, exactly. That's absolutely.
Hey, so I wanted to ask you about the purchase of Melwood. Obviously it contains a lot of memories. Daza growing up in Liverpool has a lot of fond memories there. It was exciting to see that Robbie and Jamie bought that property versus it being developed into apartments or whatever else that they were thinking about doing. How has that endeavor really turned out for you? I mean, is it as exciting there on the ground as that we feel like it should be from here?
Obviously, it's a heritage site. It's had some wonderful moments there. Before COVID, we were allowed to bring sick children in to meet the players. So we brought dozens of children in to meet Mo Salah, Bobby Firmino, James Milner, Jordan Henderson, Sadio Mane, great professionals. When we actually took the children around Melwood and they met with Klopp and everyone else, and they were extremely hospitable. Never in a million years did I think that we were going to be moving to Kirkby, and then all of a sudden that Robbie Fowler and Jamie Carragher would be the new owners. Robbie Fowler soccer schools are excellent. Jamie Carragher soccer schools are excellent. But I think on match days it opens up to all sorts of things where so many supporters flying in can actually go down there. It's not too far away from Anfield. Obviously, it's a couple of miles just down the road in West Derby. It's a wonderful place. It's a wonderful place. I actually met somebody recently at AXA, and she used to work at Melwood, She says, I love this AXA place. It's a wonderful place. Mm-hmm. But she said Melwood had heart and soul. Mm-hmm. So read into that what you want. But we're using it. One thing we are going to be doing is we work closely with the Liverpool Disabled Supporters Association. Mm-hmm. A chap there called Ted Morris and his wife Lynn do wonderful work on match days for disabled supporters. So we support them every month, and we want to bring as many kids down as we can, so they can see the facilities at Melwood. They could meet Jamie and Robbie, and you know, just walk through those famous corridors. I warn you, I'm still learning, but it's a rabbit warren. Mm-hmm. You've got a reception area, and you look to the left. There's all these trophies. They've gone now. They moved them, and then you go through one area. Then there's an elevated area upstairs where Klopp had his office, and Danielle, his PA, and Julia next to him, and all the other managers up there. You know, the sort of assistant coaches, etc. And then when you get into Klopp's, what was Klopp's office, you see all the pitches. And you see where there's just so much history there, you know. Mm-hmm. But it's deserted now. It's almost like there's a corridor there that just has these old ghosts from the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s. But I was saddened recently at one of the best events we ever did was with David Johnson. May he rest in peace. And we lost David recently. Mm-hmm. He was a great talker, was David, and I remember, you know, we had some great events down at Melwood with David Johnson, Jimmy Case, Joey Jones, people like this. And one thing we are going to do is we're going to have an ex-players legends type event on a regular basis. We must never forget David Fairclough, Jimmy Case. Mm-hmm. We must never forget these people like Terry McDermott, bless him, who's suffering now with dementia. He still comes down on match days, but one of the things that we want to do, we want to help these legends that played their part in making Liverpool what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You know, that's why you want to hear the stories from them. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to keep those stories going and going and going. You know, and it's just, you know, since I've lived in Austin, I've met more Liverpool players than I would living back home. You know, right. I've met a lot of my heroes, whether it be on Zoom or, you know, at my local pub in Austin, Texas. Who would have thought that? Not me, you know. No. And they just come across that, you know, that they can tell a story. You know, we had Stevie Nicol barely holding up the end of the bar. The boy, could he tell some stories? Yeah, you know? And that's what it's about. You know, I just don't. Yeah, other clubs have some legends. You know, but again, just Liverpool Football Club. The players are so entwined with the community. Yeah. It's just great to see them around, you know, and it is sad, you know, to see, like, you know, McDermott not doing as well as can be, you know. He's another one we would have loved to have had on the podcast, but, you know, I got a message from him. He just told me, you know, he didn't feel good enough to come on and tell the stories, and I totally understand that. But yeah, you know, I don't think there'll ever come a day where I get bored of listening, you know, because players, even though they have these legend nights, they tell the story. It's not just the same story. They'll add to it, you know.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I love about it. You can never hear the same story twice.
Well, we've done many events with people like Terry McDermott, David Johnson, but one of the best talkers, if you ever get a chance to have him on Zoom as a guest or whatever, is Steve McMahon. He's superb, and I learned something. We did an event with Steve last year, and I learned something that night that I did. I mean, it was unbelievable, really. I was driving home after the event thinking, crikey, I was heartbroken when we lost to Arsenal in '89. That stupid second goal, 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely heartbroken. But I don't know if you're aware of this, but Steve McMahon actually said to John Barnes, who was time wasting, and he was literally by the corner flag in his own half. And he said, just keep hold of the ball, keep hold of the ball, keep hold of the ball. But John Barnes, for some reason, decided he was going to work his way out and shoot at the Arsenal end. Then he lost the ball. Subsequently, they scored. Mm-hmm. And Steve said, why did you do that? Why didn't you keep the ball for another minute? And he said, no, I wanted to get the winner. I wanted to get another, I wanted to get another goal. So from 1-0 down, trying to make it 1-1, to losing 2-0 and subsequently the title, which ironically would be number 20 as things stand now.
Yep.
And Steve tells that story really well, and he really is good. He's Steve McMahon, so I highly recommend him to you guys.
Oh, we've had him on. Actually.
Oh, have you? Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
That was the day Steve couldn't do it, actually, but
okay.
McMahon said he'd come on and do a part 2 at some point, but that game really hurt because it was Thomas, wasn't it, who used to play for Liverpool. Yeah, but I never hear the end of it because one of my mates over there is an Arsenal fan. So it's always, Thomas! I'm like, oh, man. That's why I hope they don't win the league.
Yeah. We had Barnes over here. He didn't tell that story quite just like that.
No, he didn't, did he? No, he didn't.
You get different versions, don't you?
Yeah. And that's what's great about it because, being a part of the supporters club and, we're running it the past few years, but overall we've had about 10 legends come over for our Legends Night.
Right.
We're very proud of our record, probably outside of New York City, probably the most that any club has ever had, visit their club. But they, when you hear from different people from the same generation, the stories take on a different perspective. And it's funny that, just the people talk about Stevie Nicol, what a character he was, and Ronnie Whelan's stories they're trying to coincide. And when you read about something or you just see it online, and they kind of give you the background in the context of those stories. So yeah, that we love it. I mean, like Daza said, that's why we love having this show, is bringing these stories and the context to more and more people that may not ever get an opportunity to maybe read the book or go to Anfield and meet these guys. So yeah, we're doing a humanitarian service there, Daz.
Yeah, well, one thing about Steve Nicol, I never realised up until I read his book, and I met him on a couple of occasions when he's been over in the UK. I didn't realise he had size 12 feet. I mean, what's all that about? When I watched him run, and I remember he scored a hat-trick at Newcastle once. I think we beat him 4-1. I thought he had like size 8s or 9s, but to have size 12 feet.
Maybe that's why he didn't fall over. That's
why he could hold up the bar.
That's right.
Both feet propping the bar up. Yeah.
It's good at tackling. The ball can never get past him with big feet like that.
It's funny. My son just he's a footy player and he wears a size 12, and it's just like they add extra money to those bigger sizes. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't feel good on the pocketbook. But yeah, that's funny about Stevie Nicol and his shoe size.
He's funny lad.
Yeah, he is funny. That's for sure.
It's I have a lot of Liverpool books, and it's great reading the stories from the books, but when you actually hear it from the person, it just takes on a whole another level, because you do see the heart and soul in all of these players, from A to Z. And long may it continue. I know there's more and more seem to be having health issues. Which is quite.
Yes, it really is when you meet them on match days. I mean, we're lucky as a charity. We park at Stanley Car Park because sometimes we have disabled children, and you see Ian Callaghan, Terry McDermott, more modern day players like Phil Babb, Nigel Spackman, and they all park there, and they always stop for pictures and autographs. But let me just tell you one story that you might not have heard before. We kind of keep this quite confidential, but it's no longer confidential because we've just released a book called Kiss the Badge.
Yeah.
And it's selling extremely well. I think we're going to go into a second print. Kiss the Badge is about it's about regular supporters like you and I. And I don't know if Steve, if I mentioned to you what actually happened to me in 1985. I was at Valley Parade, Bradford, which is only about 5 miles from my house. And Bradford City played Lincoln City in the final game of the season. They won the title that year, I think Division 2 champions. And we just went, 5 miles down the road. Lots of Liverpool fans go watch Tranmere, etc. So it was one of those things. So I went down there, and the main stand burnt down in 20 minutes, just around about half time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I try not to think about it, but unfortunately I can't, because when you're traumatized, as I was then. So the stand burnt down, and unfortunately 56 people died that day. And where the stand burnt down, there was a wall, and people couldn't get over it. And then some of them stampeded to get to the back of the stand to get out, away from the flames, and the gates were locked. So they ran back to get out in any way they possibly can to safety. And I remember lifting people over the wall. Next to me, there was a policeman with his hair on fire. And I was lifting as many people as I could to safety, to the paramedics, etc. And I was completely and utterly traumatized. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Went to watch a game of football, and there was a fire at Valley Parade, Bradford. I walked home in shock. My mum said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I've just seen it on TV." I said, "Mum, there's going to be casualties there. I'm sad to say there's going to be casualties there." And I was completely traumatized. And the people of Bradford, like the Liverpool community, they all got together, and sadly, 56 people passed away, but the Pinderfields Hospital for the burns unit did a fantastic job. The police on the day did a fantastic job, and everyone really got together and helped as many people as they could. A couple of months later, I was in an event in Bradford, and I was at the bar having a drink, teenager. And all of a sudden, this woman just appeared from nowhere. She said, "Excuse me," she said, "I know you." She said, you're that Italian-looking guy." She said, you dragged me over the wall." She said, "That was it." She said, "You ripped my dress, you dragged me over the wall, I couldn't breathe, and you saved my life." Anyway, that woman is now my wife. And she's a huge Liverpool fan like me. And believe me, guys, there is a God, and I married a real life angel. After 33 years of marriage and watching Liverpool all around the planet, I have never once had a negative thought about my wife.
That's a great story, Mike. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Stop, Mike. Wow.
That is actually in the book. That story's in the book. Not through choice, but the author said, "Mike, we'd have that in." I said, "Well, I don't really want to be in there." "Oh, Mike, we're gonna have it in there. It's a good, So there's another 15 stories like that. Most of them are happier than my particular story. But it's a great read. The people that purchased it, they can't put it down, because it represents Liverpool Football Club, Everton, Man United in there, Bradford City, Glasgow, Celtic. It represents a number of clubs, but really, really good factual stories that change lives for people. And we all have one thing in common. We're all football fans, and we love football. We look forward to Saturdays for football, so we can watch our teams and go with our mates, and have a beer or two, hopefully win, do it all again on the Wednesday, and then go to the away game, do it all again. So yeah, that's it's called Kiss the Badge, and I just want to sort of mention it because it is selling really well, and all the profits. I think the unsigned version is only $12. All the profits go to our charitable causes.
Well, Jamie did the forward of that, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Absolutely.
When we post the episode, Mike, we'll make sure that we post a link to obviously the charity, the website for the retro kits, and also a link to the book, because that's one thing that Daz and I like. We like to really share, these Liverpool related books with all our subscribers, because you can't get enough of it. He knows that, and my Liverpool library has expanded so much since we started this podcast, and I love it. So we'll definitely everything back to the episode when we put it out there for you.
I'm sure we can ship you some copies out. I'll get Jamie to sign a couple for you, and hopefully his story with Maradona's in there, where Maradona turned up at Melwood one day, hoping to have a tour of Melwood and to meet everybody. He spent most of his time with Jamie Carragher.
Well, Jamie does know how to talk. That's for sure.
Very, very, very likable fella. I mean, I know the stories of kids had been knocking on his door, and that's another thing. You don't really hear too much about. I mean, with Salah, you kind of do. If he's in the street, he'll sign it. I'm from Formby, so that's where Gerrard and Klopp. It's kind of like, if you see Stevie in the supermarket and he's got his missus and his kid, you leave him alone. That's just etiquette. But I've heard the stories of just little kids knocking on Carragher's door with a shirt and going, "Will you sign this?" He's like, "All right, hold on." You just don't hear that anymore.
Jamie's so down to earth.
They live in these gated communities. Jamie still, lives in a normal house, quite a few of them. So it's just great for that's what I loved about the days of my granddad as well. Shankly lived pretty much right across the street from Anfield. A lot of the players all stayed around there. You go for a cup of tea with them and everything. And it has changed. With the players are more protected than they were back then. But just for Jamie to open his door and already had a felt tip pen with him. Here you go. That's giving back. And I wanted to ask Mike, during the pandemic, it must have been hard for the foundation. I'm sure you still did sign shirts, but you missed seeing the families and the kids coming to Anfield. That must have been hard.
It was tough. I remember we won the league title, and we should have been celebrating at Anfield. And the pandemic hit everyone so hard. It was so unfair for us to be deprived of that celebration. But more serious things, unfortunately, came to haunt us. Lost a lot of people. I lost a lot of friends. The lady who runs one of the Welsh supporters branch, I used to meet with on a regular basis. One day I've got a text saying, "Mike, I need some more, shirts, Bobby Firmino or James Milner." The next thing is I never hear from her again because COVID's unfortunately infiltrated into her household. So it was hard, Daz. We lost a lot of good friends around the world. But I think just to touch on Jamie put his mask on and he took food parcels to people that couldn't get out. He's an amazing guy. I love Jamie to bits, not because he's just a Liverpool legend, but he's so down to earth. And if he just rolls his sleeves up and he just gets on with it. Like his dad, Philly, they're great people. They really are fantastic people. And they never shy away from anything. If this morning I got a family contact me and the child is very poorly. And, Jamie's done a video already for the lad. It's coming down to Melwood to meet Jamie Carragher. during the pandemic, unfortunately, we couldn't meet anybody. Mm-hmm. But what we did and we focused on was helping as many food banks as we could. So we raised funds, we transferred it over to various organisations, hospitals, food banks, and it was heartbreaking to sort of be stuck at home. I mean, I remember being stuck at home for 3 months. You couldn't go anywhere, and then I got COVID. I think I had COVID 3 times, and the first time it was just weird. It was like a chill. Second time, you've got to sit up because you can't breathe. And the third time, I was stuck literally in bed for a week. I just couldn't move. I feel like somebody just beat me with a baseball bat. So it was tough, but we turned over, I think that year, £90,000 for food banks and hospitals. So the money still kept coming in. People were still buying, but it kind of dipped a little bit when the experts turned around and said, well, actually, do you know what? Sending signed shirts to mm-hmm. people around the world, you could be transmitting bugs there, and they could get mm-hmm. COVID, so, but it didn't really deter people from buying from us, mm-hmm. But were we glad to see the back of it? My God, what a horrible 2 years for the world. And then when we got back to Anfield, started winning again and so on, it was so good to be back. It was surreal to be back. But I remember going back to Anfield, just like in the 80s, when you go into the stadium and before everyone stands up and sings "You'll Never Walk Alone." Before, it used to be, I don't care who we're playing, we're going to win, and it was a case of how many buy, and we had that back again. It was whoever turned up, Everton, Southampton, Villa, Man City, we knew we were going to beat them. It was a case of how many buy,
right?
And we got that feel good factor again. And now just been it with all the injuries, and everyone's an expert on Nunes, and everyone's an expert on Carvalho, and
a lot of experts out there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I heard for that. I had a couple of mates who went back for the first time right after the pandemic, and they're lads that don't cry, and they cried when they were in Anfield. Like, they just bawled like babies, to be amongst mates again and family, and because again, Liverpool is a family. And but I wanted to ask you, and it has been creeping back into football, is these horrible chants. Yeah. And as a proud Liverpool lad, it hurts me because our city does so much, not just for Liverpool. I mean, we sent packages to Leicester, food banks there, and we got Leicester fans singing, what they sang. It really hurts me because there's so many amazing foundations in Liverpool, but they just fixate on a couple of these chants, and it's disgusting. What's your take on it? Because over the Chelsea game, that I actually read on Twitter some people having a go at George Sefton, who we know, and he was just reading out what they wanted him to say, was basically saying, stop these homophobic chants. Some other, I won't call them Liverpool fans, I call them Twitter fans, having a go, saying, well, you should have also come out and said, Chelsea fans need to stop this. It's happening nearly every match now towards, and it seems like we get told we can't say a certain thing, which we shouldn't be singing about that anymore. It should be gone, buried. But yet other fans seem to be able to get away with it, and I don't understand that.
Do you know what? That's a good question, and I'm lucky. I'm a season ticket holder, and I go to most matches. And the chap who sits behind me, he's well into his late 70s. And the thing about Sid is that he's actually blind. And he brings his nephew with him, and his nephew gives him a running commentary of the game. And his hearing is fantastic. And we have a chat on a regular basis. We turn around sometimes and say, Sid, Cop end, we've got a corner, Hendo's on the ball with Trent, he's gonna float it to the back post, Nunes is there. So we give him a little bit of a kind of running commentary, and he loves it. And we had a chat about this the other day. Chelsea fans on that day, they came to insult Liverpool. They didn't come to watch the game. Their song is Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea. That's it. That's the repertoire. And then they started. I think there was 14 or 15 of them got ejected for the chants. And then of course we get the usual songs. Sign on, sign on. You'll never get a job. Sign on. And there's a bunch of fans that come to Anfield that want to support their teams. That Leeds fans, they come over there. The big supporters of Leeds United, because obviously it's another big club, and they support Leeds. Newcastle fans, they come down, they support Newcastle, and they are really good fans as well. But there are some supporters that come. They don't come to support their team. They just come to insult Liverpool. The reason they do that is because they can't be used, so they taunt us. Simple as that. AFC Bournemouth fans, not a big club. They only get 12,000. They come up all the way from Bournemouth and they sing songs about Bournemouth. They want to support Bournemouth.
Yeah,
they're not interested in insulting Liverpool. We're the most successful club in England. Is that our fault? Why we're the most successful? We're the best supported. Is that our fault? So we are Liverpool. We are a special club. If you don't like us, don't insult us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to come all the way from Chelsea to insult, and then this thing about where's your famous atmosphere? I concede totally that sometimes Anfield can be a little bit subdued for a 12:30 kickoff. And there's various reasons behind that. The Belgian lads coming from Belgium in the morning, the Aberdeen lads come down, the Gloucester supporters branch, some of the United States branches. 12:30 kickoff is ridiculous, but it is what it is. So some of the supporters don't get going by halftime. But most of the time we're 2-3, so it doesn't matter. But when they come up and think, where's your famous atmosphere, and the place is bouncing, and when you go to their stadia, we don't sing songs about them. We sing songs about Liverpool. And then they pinch our songs. Then they interpret stupid words. That Stephen Gerrard song, for instance, with Demba Ba. They must have sung that about 20 times. So they come to taunt. They don't come to support their team. They're tribal, and that they latch themselves onto a club and they follow that club for whatever reason. Most of them don't follow that club to support them to win things. They do it for the reason I've just explained.
Yeah, I think the bad thing is it's 50, 60-year-old men that are doing it. And then the young lads, looking up to these idiots, and they're idiots, and doing the same thing, but not thinking, it's going to hurt, because there's still Hillsborough families that go to Anfield, and they have to, well, they shouldn't have to, but they have to listen to that garbage. Yeah. And that's disgusting to me. Well, as you said about Bournemouth, Palace fans are probably one of my favourite, because that's all they sing about, and that's what you should sing about. Mm-hmm. Sing about your football team, not about the other. Sing about yours. I mean, I heard in the Man United Notts Forest match, United fans were singing at Nico Williams about Liverpool. He doesn't play for Liverpool anymore. He plays for Notts Forest.
Exactly.
But it carries on, and Stevie hung up his boots years ago now. That song, Chelsea fans will still come up, and the Steven Gerrard one just makes me laugh, because I'm just like, you've got nothing else better to come up with, Poor Wolves fans. I think they've stolen 3 of ours already. Jota one, Bobby one, and then the LA. Like, come on. Get your own chance. I mean, at least they're coming up with their own chance. But yeah, it's sneaking its way back into football, and it's disgusting, and it needs to be nipped in the backside as quickly as possible. You know, whether you take away tickets from them and say, look, you're only going to get half allocation. That'll get you into shape. Or banning these morons from football for the rest of their lives. Not for a match or two. Just ban them. We need that in football. But you know, but we don't want to leave on a sour note.
No, indeed.
I know. I'm going to say this. You know, we said it at the start. The 23 Foundation. What you do for the community and for all these children, we thank you so much. We hope it gets bigger and better. You know, and you know, make more money for these charities. Hopefully, you know, one day you won't have to, you know, help with the food banks, because again, that's a whole nother podcast I could talk about, is the food banks. It's wrong this day and age. Nobody should be going to a food bank. You know, but what you, Jamie, and everyone at the foundation does, I commend you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's a great honour to work with someone like Jamie Carragher and to be a part of the Liverpool family. And it's a privilege for me, you know, a lad from Croatia, to be speaking to a bunch of people in the States in 2023, supporting the best club, you know, with the best fans on the planet. So thank you very much for having me.
On Zoom as well.
Yeah.
On Zoom. Listen, I used to develop IT systems for many organisations. I swear it's my first time on Zoom. I think I'm just run ragged all the time. It's so busy, but
see, we've opened the door for you now.
There you go.
Your Zoom career.
That's right.
Zoom career is going to take off after this.
Pandora's box, if ever I saw one, mate.
There you go.
No.
I just want to
for everything.
Yeah. Before we say goodbye to you, Mike, and thank you again for joining us, and it's good to see your face again.
Thank you.
The last lesson I learned is that no matter how charitable Jamie Carragher is and such a big-hearted person he is, it does not extend in between the lines. Right. There's no charity. He doesn't have that charitable disposition when he's playing, whether it be against supporters or against fellow legends from other clubs. It's so fun to watch him. So I know if it's one of
the Neville brothers, that's at the end of the tackle, and I fully concur with you.
Well, if you'd like to know more about 23 Foundation, please go to jamiecarragher23.com. And if you want to donate, they've also got memorabilia, loads of shirts and books that have been signed by Jamie and other footballers. So please take a moment to go visit them. As I always say, please like and subscribe and put on the notifications so you get notified for the next episode. But again, thanks from me and Steve, and thank you so much, Mike.
Great pleasure. Thank you, guys. Hope to see you again. All the best.
Cheers.